The Amazon rainforest holds secrets beneath its emerald canopy that challenge everything we know about survival. Over 600 million people voted it one of Earth's 7 natural wonders. Yet few understand its darkest chapter. 21 million years ago, no jungle existed here. Instead, a vast inland sea sprawled across the continent, larger than modern Japan. Waters reached depths of 150 feet, hiding predators that dwarf today's most fearsome killers. This was Lake Pebas, a realm where crocodiles outnumbered birds and death lurked in every shadow. Tonight, we uncover the lost world that made the modern Amazon look tame by comparison. Prepare to meet the monsters that once ruled paradise. The Amazon that never was. Today's Amazon River system moves water faster than any other river on Earth, 6 times the rate. If you combine the Nile, Mississippi, Congo, Ganges, Thames, and Yangtze, the Amazon would still outpace them. The rainforest itself dominates the Congo, its nearest competitor, by a factor of 3 in sheer size. This colossal ecosystem supports more species per square mile than almost anywhere else on the planet. Jaguars prowl the understory while anacondas slide through murky tributaries, and poison dart frogs advertise their toxicity. Yet for all its danger and majesty, the modern Amazon pales compared to its prehistoric predecessor. The transformation began during the Aquitanian Age, roughly 21 million years ago, in the early Miocene epoch. Most of Earth experienced dry, cool conditions during this period, but the Amazon basin followed different rules. Warm, humid air dominated the region as tectonic forces rewrote the landscape beneath it. The Andes Mountains were rising. Subduction zones, where oceanic plates dove beneath continental crust, pushed the Earth's surface skyward with relentless force. As the Andean range climbed higher, it fundamentally altered the hydrology of western South America. Rivers that once flowed westward toward the Pacific found their paths blocked by towering new peaks. Water began pooling in the lowlands, trapped by the mountain barrier to the west. The land became a massive geological bowl, filling rapidly with rainfall and runoff from surrounding highlands. This flooding gave birth to the Pebas system, named after the Peruvian town near important fossil discoveries. But calling it simply a lake doesn't capture the complexity of this ancient ecosystem. Scientists debate whether Pebas formed one enormous lake, multiple interconnected lake systems, or a sprawling mega-wetland. The prevailing hypothesis suggests a mosaic wetland featuring tremendous environmental variation, from deep open water to shallow marshes. Whatever the precise configuration, water dominated the landscape absolutely and completely at this critical moment. The Climatic Crucible. At its peak, Lake Pebas stretched across an area exceeding the entire nation of Japan. Depths in certain zones reached 50 meters, creating vast underwater territories shrouded in permanent gloom. Light barely penetrated the deeper layers, especially where vegetation choked the surface and tannins stained the water. This was an aquatic realm on a scale difficult for modern minds to fully comprehend or appreciate. The Pebas system existed for millions of years, but one period stands out above all others. The Middle Miocene marked a pivotal chapter in Earth's history, and within it came a critical event. The Middle Miocene Climatic Optimum, abbreviated as MMCO, saw global temperatures surge dramatically higher than present levels. Average temperatures jumped 3 to 4 degrees Celsius warmer, equivalent to relocating from Portugal's mild coast to Syria's desert heat. Lake Pebas experienced conditions comparable to the 5 hottest countries on Earth today, a sweltering tropical furnace. Atmospheric carbon dioxide levels likely drove this greenhouse warming, supercharging photosynthesis across the Pebas Basin. Vegetation exploded in size and density. Giant trees towered over the water's edge, while oversized marshes spread in every direction. Thick mangroves created impenetrable walls along countless kilometers of shoreline. Water levels reached their absolute maximum during this period, expanding Pebas to its greatest extent. The stage was set for an unprecedented evolutionary arms race among cold-blooded predators. Reptiles dominated this world completely. While the Cenozoic era earned the title Age of Mammals, globally, Lake Pebas belonged to scales, not fur. The elevated temperatures provided perfect conditions for reptilian metabolism, allowing ectothermic animals to maintain high activity levels. Size increased dramatically as warmth removed metabolic constraints that limit cold-blooded creatures in cooler climates. Diversity exploded as countless species carve out specialized niches in the sprawling wetland ecosystem. The Crocodilian Empire. Among the many reptilian groups thriving in Pebas, one family rose to absolute dominance: crocodilians. Modern hotspots like Australia's Northern Territory, Florida's Everglades, and Africa's Nile River pale in comparison. Fossil evidence from the Pebas Formation reveals crocodilian diversity exceeding even bird diversity in the region. Let that sink in for a moment. A place where encountering a crocodile was statistically more likely than spotting a bird in flight. This extraordinary diversity stemmed from niche partitioning, the ecological process where similar species divide available resources. Some crocodilians specialized in catching fish in deep, open water using narrow, elongated snouts. Others developed broad, crushing jaws for hunting large terrestrial prey along shorelines and in flooded forests. Some species evolved to crack open mollusks and turtles, while others pursued fast-swimming fish in rivers. Each species found its ecological role, minimizing direct competition while maximizing the wetland's abundant resources. Size variation naturally accompanied this diversification. Some species remained relatively modest, comparable to modern caimans measuring 6 to 8 feet. But others evolved into giants that redefined what crocodilian anatomy could achieve. The largest of these prehistoric monsters would become legends in the fossil record, specimens that paleontologists study with awe. At the apex of this hierarchy ruled an animal almost beyond comprehension in its power. The undisputed king of Lake Pebas, Purussaurus. Anatomy of a nightmare. The discovery of Purussaurus in 1892 shocked the scientific community completely and permanently. Paleontologists working near the Purus River in Brazil unearthed skull fragments of unprecedented size and robustness. These bones immediately signaled something extraordinary, something that fundamentally challenged assumptions about crocodilian size limits. Subsequent expeditions recovered additional material that only confirmed and amplified the initial shocking assessments. The skull alone measured 4.7 feet, approximately 1.5 meters of solid bone. Its shape was distinctly box-like, incredibly robust, designed to absorb and distribute tremendous forces. This powerful cranial architecture revealed Purussaurus as Lake Pebas' supreme predator, a position it held unchallenged. But reconstructing the full body proved more challenging due to incomplete postcranial remains. Different studies produced varying size estimates based on available evidence and comparative anatomy with modern crocodilians. Conservative estimates place Purussaurus at 9.2 meters, roughly 30 feet long, weighing over 6 tons. This already exceeds every living reptile by substantial margins and matches killer whale mass. But these figures represent the cautious end of scientific speculation about this beast's true dimensions. More aggressive extrapolations suggest maximum lengths between 33 and 52 feet, between 10 and 16 meters. At these upper estimates, weight calculations soar to between 8 and 12.6 tons. 12.6 tons equals or exceeds the weight of a minke whale, an actual baleen whale. If accurate, Purussaurus would rank as the heaviest crocodilian ever documented in the fossil record. While debating precise measurements continues, separate analyses consistently support one conclusion. Purussaurus likely outweighed famous prehistoric crocodiles like Deinosuchus and Sarcosuchus, previously considered the largest ever. Its enormous, broad jaws necessitated massive neck musculature for support and a correspondingly robust, powerful body. The mechanics of destruction. Biomechanical models reveal Purussaurus possessed a bite force approaching 69,000 newtons of crushing pressure. Few animals in Earth's entire history generated comparable force, not even the legendary Tyrannosaurus rex. To understand this magnitude, imagine a fully loaded cargo truck dropping directly onto your body. Instead of tires spreading the impact, all that weight channels through dozens of razor-sharp teeth. Those teeth were evolutionary masterpieces, perfectly designed for penetrating flesh and crushing bone without breaking. 2 inches long, 5 centimeters of curved, serrated ivory with dual cutting edges running lengthwise. Their thick, conical shape provided structural integrity that allowed biting straight through bone without cracking. Skull architecture and tooth design together indicate Purussaurus specialized in hunting large vertebrates successfully and efficiently. It employed puncturing and holding bites to debilitate prey, preventing escape before delivering fatal trauma. But the nightmare didn't end with that apocalyptic bite force alone. Despite weighing up to 12 tons, Purussaurus almost certainly retained the classic crocodilian killing technique, the death roll. Modern crocodiles execute this maneuver by clamping prey in their jaws and spinning rapidly underwater. The rotational force tears flesh and dismembers even large animals like buffalo into manageable pieces. Now extrapolate that technique to a predator 5 times heavier with 3 times the bite force. The resulting carnage would have been indescribable, turning calm water into churning crimson chaos within seconds. Nothing in Lake Pebas could survive an encounter with an adult Purussaurus, cementing its status as undisputed apex predator. And nature added insult to injury by providing this monster with exceptional defensive capabilities as well. Thick scales covered its entire body, reinforced by osteoderms, bony plates far more robust than modern crocodilians. This armor protected against attacks from rivals and environmental hazards like submerged logs and sharp debris. The Empire of Teeth. Fossil distribution reveals Purussaurus wasn't restricted to specific habitats within the Pebas system at all. It inhabited deep lakes, flowing rivers, and sprawling floodplains throughout the entire wetland complex. Wherever substantial water existed, Purussaurus dominated the food chain without exception or challenge. Swimming in Lake Pebas would have been an immediate death sentence for most large animals. Yet despite Purussaurus's overwhelming dominance, it shared these waters with other formidable giant crocodilians. The Pebas system also supported what may have been the largest gavialid ever to exist. This crocodilian family today includes only gavials and false gavials, slender snout specialists in catching fish. But ancient Pebas hosted far greater gavialid diversity, including the impressive genus Gryposuchus, a predator commanding respect. Scientists have identified 4 Gryposuchus species so far, with Gryposuchus croizati standing as the largest by a significant margin. Described formally in 2009, this species apparently inhabited Lake Pebas' northern regions exclusively. It frequented both freshwater and coastal environments, accessing diverse food resources that fueled impressive growth. Mature specimens regularly exceeded 10 meters or 33 feet in length, rivaling only Ramphosuchus for the title of largest gavialid ever. At this scale, Gryposuchus had few natural predators besides perhaps the largest Purussaurus individuals. Mostly it accumulated victims rather than enemies. However, its prey likely differed substantially from Purussaurus's menu preferences. While Purussaurus possessed a broad, crushing skull for large terrestrial animals, Gryposuchus evolved an extremely narrow, elongated one. This specialization strongly suggests a diet dominated by large fish, though its tremendous size certainly allowed opportunistic predation on mammals when circumstances permitted such variation. The end of monsters. The Middle Miocene Climatic Optimum represented the peak of Lake Pebas' monstrous era absolutely and definitively. Temperatures reached their warmest levels. Water coverage achieved its maximum extent. Predator diversity and size hit unprecedented highs. This was the Amazon's true age of giants, when reptilian nightmares ruled supreme across endless wetlands. But nothing lasts forever, not even monster-infested super lakes spanning thousands of square kilometers. Environmental conditions began shifting as the Middle Miocene yielded to subsequent epochs over millions of years. The Andes continued rising, eventually creating new drainage patterns across the entire South American continent. Rivers carved channels through emerging valleys, finding paths to the Atlantic Ocean that hadn't existed before. Water that had pooled for millions of years in the Pebas Basin finally found outlets eastward. The mega wetland began draining, slowly but inexorably. Water levels dropped year by year, century by century, millennium by millennium. Unified lakes fragmented into smaller, isolated bodies. Marshes dried into seasonal floodplains that baked under intense sun. The cohesive ecosystem that had supported such extraordinary diversity started breaking apart into disconnected fragments. Species faced harsh choices: adapt to changing conditions or face extinction's finality. Purussaurus, supremely evolved for aquatic dominance, found its realm shrinking beneath it. Populations became isolated as water connections disappeared, preventing gene flow between groups. Climate also shifted as the climatic optimum ended, and temperatures gradually cooled toward modern levels. Carbon dioxide declined, the greenhouse conditions enabling giant cold-blooded predators moderated to less extreme states. Size became disadvantageous as food resources diminished and environments transformed into drier habitats. The age of mega-crocodilians was ending. Over millions of years, the transformation continued relentlessly and irreversibly. Where Lake Pebas once sprawled, rivers began flowing freely eastward toward the Atlantic. Vegetation changed as drainage improved and soils became less waterlogged. Trees adapted to seasonal flooding, replaced water-dependent mangroves. Forests expanded where permanent wetlands once dominated the landscape. The Amazon was becoming the jungle we recognize today, diverse and dangerous, but fundamentally different. Purussaurus disappeared from the fossil record entirely, unable to adapt to the new world. Gryposuchus likewise vanished without descendants. Today's Amazon rainforest stands as Earth's greatest terrestrial ecosystem, home to millions of species yet discovered. But beneath the leaf litter and river sediments lies a hidden history of monsters that challenge imagination. The Amazon we cherish is merely the latest incarnation of a dynamic landscape constantly reinventing itself. Lake Pebas reminds us that our planet's past contains creatures more extraordinary than any fiction, and that the familiar world around us rests upon foundations stranger and more wondrous than we usually dare to contemplate or acknowledge.